What is up, you guys? It's Aisling and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a dupe for the Huda Nude palette. I have been asked a lot over the last couple of weeks to feature this dupe in a video, and the dupe that we're talking about is the Daydream palette, and it is from the brand Alter Ego. I have talked about Alter Ego numerous times on my channel here. I think I've done 2 previous videos on them and mentioned them in favorites, so I'm just gonna get onto the website first because there's a few things I kind of want to say before I get stuck into the video and show you the palette side by side. So the website is alterego.com. It will be linked down in the description below. They always give me discount codes. The last one they gave me was drama, so I don't know if that still works, but if it does, it'll give you 10% off. Now, the website unfortunately only ships to the US at the moment. They are branching out into other countries, so just do be patient with them. They're a brand new company. I think they only set up in March, but they're a very reliable, very respectable company. I have had lots of my US subscribers purchase from them and said that they got their palettes and they were very, very happy. So they're a great company. They haven't sponsored any videos. This one is not any different. I just really want to feature the palette. I like the brand. I want to talk to you guys about affordability. You know, I'm all about that life. So that is all I kind of need to say about the website. The palette itself looks like this. Sorry, I'm just reading off the website. It has 18 colours in it. Features a mix of matte, glitter, duochrome shades, pink berries and nude tones. It's cruelty free and paraben free. The palette on the outside looks beautiful. It's like clouds with like purples and blues and pinks. It's very, very pretty. And on the inside, the palette looks like this. So it is super gorgeous. Like, I mean, I died and went to heaven when I seen the inside of this. It's just a beautiful, beautiful palette. And obviously it's been compared to the Huda Nude palette, which this is them side by side. Straight off the bat, I've noticed that the only colour I can't really find a dupe for is Tickle, which is this pink shade right here, which is one of my personal favourites. And looking at this palette, I'm just not seeing, like, I'm not seeing the dupe for it. I've looked and I've looked and I've looked and I'm just like, no, I'm not seeing it. So I do think that they are missing a couple of shades. Now, I did check the website to see could it give me a list, you know, of what shades it's similar to, but it's not giving me any lists at all. It just gives me the ingredients, the shades, and then there's a couple of reviews on it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do what I normally do with a dupe or don't. I'm going to test these shadows on my eye first, and then I'm going to do the swatches side by side, and then I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on this palette. So that's all I need to kind of say on that. The other thing I want to say about the brand Alter Ego is the eyeshadows, in my opinion, have been like more than good quality. They have been excellent quality. I have had palettes from Urban Decay and, you know, Kat Von D, and I've had palettes from Anastasia Beverly Hills and, you know, Huda, loads of different brands, and I actually think this, as affordable as it is up there with like the best eyeshadow palettes. This is $18, so it's very, very, very affordable. Roughly translates to about €15, maybe about £12. So it's not expensive in any way, shape or form. The only thing, like I said, is that they don't currently ship outside of the US, but they are expanding. So I'm sorry about that, guys, for any of you who really want to buy this. You can use like a shipping service. I use GoSend, I think it is that I use. There's tons of different shipping services that you can use that you literally pay like £5 or €5, something like that, to get a product shipped to like a hub over in the US. It gives like you a US address and then they send it to Ireland. So there are ways to get it, but the shipping might be like doubled. That's the only thing. So just if that was an interest of yours. So I do hope they expand the shipping. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to prime my eyelids and we're just going to start playing with colour. I'm going to start off by taking the shade Play from the Huda Beauty palette, which is this one up here. And I'm just going to pop that straight through my crease. I love Huda Beauty's palettes, but I do find sometimes I get a bit of kickback from them. Huda's palette is also, I think, like €58. Close to 60, so it's quite expensive. Just also be aware of that, the price comparison. So again, just setting that down as a transition shade. I'm not going to zoom in for you guys because it's pretty boring. I'm just going to clean off that brush, the same brush. I'm just going to use the same brush, but just clean it off really well in between applications. The shade that looks like a dupe for Play is the shade down here, which is called Bubbly. So I'm going to pop Bubbly through my crease. So Bubbly is definitely a little bit more peachy than Play. I wouldn't necessarily say they're straight off the bat dupes, but they're pretty close, like, on the eyes. I actually prefer the shade Bubbly out of the Daydream palette because I feel like it is more peachy and true to what I want from that shade. Like I want it to be kind of like a peachy shade. So again, just placing that in the exact same position as the other eyeshadow, and now I'm gonna zoom in for you guys. So next up from Huda, I'm taking the shade down here, which is called Secret. So again, I'm just gonna place this right through my crease in the same position as the first shade, and I absolutely love this shade Secret because it's like a mauvey brown shade. It's just beautiful. And like always, don't mind about the outer corner of my eye, which will always look like a hot mess until I actually clean it up at the end. It took me a bit of time to pinpoint the color that was like Secret, but I've realized it's this one up here in the corner, which is called Sunkissed. The thing I'm noticing with this Daydream palette is it's not giving me as much kick up as the Huda Beauty palette. Okay, so I'm noticing that this shade is definitely a little bit warmer. Like this one is more of like a mauvey shade, like a mauvey brown, whereas this is definitely more of like a warm shade. I don't know if it's mixing with the peach that's underneath it, because you could see that that was definitely a lot warmer than the other eye. But so far, I think our eyes are not looking the same at all. Most of the alter ego palettes I try, I don't have that problem. They all kind of look pretty similar, whereas I feel like these kind of look different. This, surprisingly enough, is a lot more pigmented than this. I love the shade Tease here, which is like a purple shade, and I'm going to apply it to my outer and inner corner because I'm going to do like a halo effect. You can probably see from the palette just how much kick up it kind of does give off. So I'm just going to apply that to the outer corner and the inner corner, and just use a really fluffy brush to disperse it, because I just want it really, really, really blown out and smoky. The look that I'm actually creating, I've created it like a million times using this palette, so I kind of know what I'm doing. I just hope that the other side matches. So just blend a bit of that through my crease, and then I just go into the inner corner and then blend it out. I'm like looking at both palettes, and I don't know whether this one, which is called Celestial, or this one called Dusk matches. I'm thinking Dusk, so I'm going to take Dusk on the same brush that's wiped off. So I'm going to apply Dusk in the same position. Yeah, Dusk actually does match that shade. It doesn't look like it in the pan though. That's why I need to do the swatches as well, because they work way better than just using my eye. The shade is not as pigmented as the shade from the Huda Beauty. Right off the bat, I need to build this up a little bit more. But it's a really nice purpley brown all the same. Go in with the Huda palette, and I'm going to take Raw, because I just want to like build up that outer V, and I don't want to go with like a purple shade, so Raw is always the color that I take just to kind of build out the outer corner. And again, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to place it right over the previous shade Tease, just to kind of build up the outer corner and the inner corner. And again, just bring it slightly through my crease. So I'm not really sure which shade is supposed to match Raw in this palette, but I'm thinking it might be Daybreak, because Daybreak is the darkest of the brown shades, and Raw is the darkest of the brown shades in this palette. I don't know if you can see them there. I'll like put them there. So that's what I'm going to take. I'm going to take Daybreak because it is the darkest brown, and there's nothing else really that seems to match it. Okay, so far both the eyes are looking pretty similar. I'm going to take the concealer shade from the Huda Beauty palette. I was going to go in with a regular concealer that I use, but I want to test out the other concealer from the Daydream palette. Don't really like this concealer, but look, we're just going to go with it, and I'm going to pop that into the center. I just find it really sticky. Probably a good thing. I don't know. I'm just not crazy about it. Okay, so I am going to mix Crave and Daydream? Crave, Daydream together and put them in the center of my eye. I love combining these. These are like my favorite combo. Nails are too long, so I'm just going to go in with the brush and just pat this into the middle. So I'm just mixing both those shades together. It's a little bit messy at the moment, don't worry, I'll fix it up in a moment. I'm just going to take that same brush, I'm going to, instead of using that side, I'm going to take the other side to use the concealer. Okay, so I think that concealer is pretty much the same as the Huda Beauty. It's sticky like it also. Going in with the same brush, I'm going to take the shade Crossed and Fairy Tale. Is it Crossed? Star Crossed. I just read the end of that. star-crossed, fairy tale. And I'm just going to apply them into the center of the eye and just mixing the two of them together. Ooh. Oh my god, these are really pretty. Oh my god, they're almost identical to the Huda. I actually nearly prefer these because I think they're kind of like chunkier or something. There's like more dimension to them or something. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say. They look more like a pigment. That's what I'm trying to say than this one. Like I feel like this is just like a flat shimmer, whereas this actually looks like a pigment on the eye. I'm going to take the shade Bare, which is this shade here, and I'm just going to pop that underneath my brow and into the inner corner of my eye. Okay, wiping off the brush, I'm going to go in with the shade Glow, which is this one here, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing on the other eye. Going to focus on my lower lash line now because I've kind of done my upper, and I'm going to take Tease and then Raw on top of it, just on the outer and inner corner of my lower lashes. So I'm just going to mix both those together and just apply it there. Same with the other palette. I'm just going to take Dust and Daybreak, those two, and mix them together and put them in the same place as I did the other eye. Mixing Crave and Daydream together, I'm just going to pop them on into the center of my lower lashes. And then cleaning off the brush and going in with these two shades here from the Daydream palette. So that is both eyes completed, and they're very extra. I can't notice the difference from either side. If somebody did my eye makeup and I wasn't allowed to look at the palette that they had used and I had to try and guess which one was the high end and which one was the more affordable palette, I don't think I could pick a side because I feel like they both look identical on my eyes. They look identical. The only thing is the eyeshadows in the pan, it was difficult for me to distinguish which eyeshadow from the Daydream palette correspond to the Huda palette, and I was just kind of a little bit confused there. So I am going to swatch both these palettes side by side just to give you a little bit more information and kind of like a little bit more of an insight into the shadows and if they are dupes, because I know I put them on my eyes and they look very, like, they look really nice on my eyes and they look very similar. And I do think sometimes from swatches you can tell a little bit more. Personally, I love the Daydream palette as much as the Huda palette, and it's kind of the same with all of Alter Ego's palettes. The affordable one is not like the crappy one or anything like that, or it's not like lower quality. You still get like pretty decent quality. So I am going to swatch both palettes and then we'll talk a little bit more about them. This is the Huda Nude palette and this is the Daydream palette. So Daydream and the Huda. So you can see how it is a little bit difficult just to kind of distinguish which eyeshadows are which, but we're going to try our best. So I'm going to go across this way like that, and then like find the corresponding shadow up here. First shade I'm going to start off with is Base. I'm just going to swatch that there. So there's not much showing up there. And the corresponding shade here is Glow. Wow, that's surprising. Glow has a lot more pigmentation than the Huda Beauty one. So there you go. Next up I have Crave. Beautiful shade here. This is from the Huda palette. And we have Star-Crossed from this palette. So they are 1,000,000% like dupes. They're so like each other. Next up we have Play. So it's Play. In the Daydream palette we have Bubbly. See Play and Bubbly. They actually are very difficult to see on my arm, but they are very, very similar whilst I'm looking at them in person. Next up we have Fantasy. Again, another one of my favourite shades. It's like this really warm coppery red shade. And from the Daydream palette we have Dreamer. So again, they are pretty identical. Now this is when it gets a bit tricky. I'm going to go in with Love Bite. Gorgeous purple shade. I'm thinking it's Sugar Plum, so I'm just going to go in with that. So that's those shades there. Sugar Plum is a little bit warmer or something They are not identical, but they're quite similar, as you can see. Then we've got Spanked. It's one of my favourite colours in this palette. It's just a really lovely pink tone. I don't even know how you describe it, like a magenta almost. Again, I struggled with the dupe from this palette, but I'm thinking it's Enchanted. So that's Enchanted there. They're not dissimilar at all in person, but they look so different in the pan. I think they look really different in the pan, but they look very similar in person. Next up, I'm taking Lace. And from the Daydream palette, I think Celestial is its dupe. And I would be correct. So they are very similar. Next up, we have Daydreamer, or Daydream rather, sorry. That's gorgeous. I love that shade. And from this palette, it is Fairy Tale. And again, they are so similar. I just love the chunkiness though from the Daydream palette. So next up, I have Tickle. Now, looking at this palette, you would not think Sunset was its dupe, but it's the closest one I can find to it. I can't really notice any other shade that is similar to it, so that is the shade Sunset. It looks very different in the pan to how it swatches. Like, it's more pink when it swatches, and in the pan it's more brown. Now we're into the glitters, so this is Excite. These are difficult to swatch, guys, so bear with me on this one. So Excite is just like a straight up glitter, and from this palette it's called Cosmo. Again, it's a straight up glitter, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to swatch. They're identical, exact same shade, exactly the same. Next up, I have Infatuated. From Daydream, we have Starlight. Oh no, yeah, Starlight. It's like, no, wrong one. No, it's the right one. Again, they're exactly the same shade. And finally, from the second row, I have Kinky, which is like a metallic, I don't know what you would call that, coppery red kind of shade. And from the Daydream palette, it is Twilight down here. Again, they're identical. So that row would definitely be the closest, I think. All the shades match really, really well. Okay, I'm going to take the concealer shade here from Huda. It's just a sticky, gloopy mess. I hate it. So that's what it looks like. And this one is from Daydream. Again, it's a sticky, gloopy mess. They're a bit different. Daydream, I'd say, has more of a yellow undertone. And the concealer from Huda is a little bit more pinky. Next up, we've got Secret and Sunkissed from this palette. So that's probably the only shade that doesn't swatch that amazing is Sunkissed from the Daydream palette. It's a bit tricky to get it to swatch. Next up I have Tease. And again, this doesn't look like it'd match, but Dusk is the shade I used on my eye. And they match pretty well. Next I have Raw and Daybreak from Daydream. And they are very similar also. Next I have Charmed and Cloud9 from Daydream. Cloud9 is a little bit more coppery than the one from Huda, which has a little bit more dimension in it. I think it's just like a straight up copper bronze shade. Final shade is Teddy from Huda. Just lovely warm brown. Fawn from Daydream. So that is it there. So that's all the last row. So there you go, guys. There's the swatches as well. What did you guys make of the swatches? To be honest, I really didn't think from looking at these palettes straight off the bat that they were both gonna match. And I just think it's because the Daydream shades look so dissimilar in the pan to the Huda Beauty, and then when you swatch them you're like, oh my god, they're exactly the same. Like, it's so weird. Like, it really is very weird. The only shade that I will say out of this entire palette that's not amazing is the shade Sunkissed, which is this one up here. It's not my favorite shade. It was probably the most trickiest to get to show up on your eyes, but the rest of the shadows were amazing. And in some cases the Daydream palette performed better than the Huda, and they were a bit more pigmented. So I mean, you know, there you go. That's another kind of bonus of this. The fact that it is like less than half the price is also a massive bonus. I just think that the shades in this and how they perform are great. I also like the chunky pigments in this better than in Huda, because I just think that they actually look like pigments on your eye, and they just have that kind of effect that a pigment has. They're like very foiled looking on the eye. I just think that they're a little bit better in the Daydream palette. So yeah, that is kind of my 2 cents on both those palettes. I don't really have any more to say about the Daydream palette. I think it is absolute bomb.com. The Daydream palette, in my opinion, is 100% a dupe for the Huda Nude palette. I mean, I can't see any differences, and I definitely can't fault the quality of this and how it performs and how it looks versus the Huda Beauty. If you had your eye on the Huda Beauty palette but paying nearly 60 quid for it was just a little bit out of your price range, then go with the Daydream palette. And again, I know it's kind of annoying because it's not available yet in Europe and shipped to Ireland and the UK and stuff, and I know you guys are gonna like eat me alive for talking about it again, but they are going to be expanding their shipping and the countries that they ship to, so I'm really sorry about that, guys. But anyway, that's just my little 2 cents on it, my dupe or don't. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please let me know what you would like to see on my channel next. As you guys know, I'm mixing in like vlogs and like beauty videos. So whatever you guys want to see on my channel, let me know and I'll try and incorporate it into my videos. So thank you very much again for watching. I love you all so much, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Mwah. Bye guys.